Good evening, I'm Pinky Webb. Tonight we ask the questions, we tackle the issues, we clarify matters, and we get on point. Questions on the legality of former President Rodrigo Duterte's arrest continue to hound authorities. For the Duterte camp, it was illegal because the International Criminal Court that issued the arrest warrant no longer has jurisdiction over the country. But for the Marcos administration, due process was observed. In the wake of Duterte's detention at The Hague, the former president's ally, Harry Roque, is now seeking asylum in the Netherlands, but thousands have already signed a petition to block his move. Let's get on point with Prosecutor General of the National Prosecution Service, Richard Anthony Fadullon, who joins us via Zoom. Prosec Gen, good evening to you, and it's good to have you. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Hi, good evening, Pinky, and it's nice to be back. Good evening to all your televiewers.
You were there during the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte last March 11. Tell us exactly what you did there and what was the role of the Prosecutor General.
Yes, I do confirm that I was there in the morning of March 11, 2025. The purpose of the prosecutors being there was really to ensure that the proceedings in the matter of the arrest of the former president would be done without his rights being violated. And that's exactly the reason why I, together with some of my prosecutors, were present to make sure that that happened that particular day.
And my understanding, PG, is that when the former president had left the plane from when he arrived at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport and left the plane, he walked past the tube, if I'm not mistaken. You were already there at sinalubong niyo po siya. Would that be correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
And
Actually, when initially they did not want to disembark from the plane, they were looking and they were asking us for copies of the warrant that was issued. And once we were able to send a soft copy of the warrant to one of his companions, shortly thereafter, the president and his party disembarked and started walking out the tube. That was when I met him because, as I was told that morning, I was also there to make sure that the rights of the president were read to him. And that was what I initially tried to do when I met him at the tube.
But you failed to do that because my understanding was that the camp of former President Rodrigo Duterte had asked kung pwedeng ipagpaliban yon. Would that be right?
Yes, that would be correct. They objected to the rights being read at that point in the tube when they went out. And we acceded to it simply because we knew it was also going to be very difficult with the party of the president coming out together with him from the plane. And there were a lot of police officers there. The place was the space was quite constricted. So we opted to just do it somewhere else, not continue with the reading in the tube.
And when you were asked to not do it there after the tube, because you were supposed to read his Miranda rights, when you were asked to do this, was it an easy decision to just say, let's do it at the Villamor Air Base?
Yes, it wasn't that difficult to arrive at a decision to do it elsewhere, considering the fact that it would be, it was quite inconvenient, I suppose, as far as the party was concerned, of the president, because they had come from a flight and emotions were a bit high initially when they found out that we were there. So the decision to, just delay the reading of the rights and do it at the Villamor was not a difficult decision to make.
Did the former president himself personally ask you to delay the reading of the Miranda rights? Or was it his lawyers?
He did ask me what it was all about, and I told him that I was there to read him his rights. It was the companions of the former president who had asked that it be done elsewhere. And the president seemed to agree to it. So seeing that, it was more convenient for the entire entourage to be accommodated, we decided to have it and do the reading elsewhere.
And did you need to seek permission to extend, to delay rather, the reading of his Miranda rights?
No, there was no need for me to seek permission. It seemed that it was the agreement already of the police officers who were also there. They felt that it would also be a good idea not to do it there by the tube immediately, considering that, like I said, the space was quite constricted. And we understood, no, we understood where the president was coming from, that it was difficult. He had just disembarked from the plane after a long trip. And we just wanted to be able to do it at a place which would be a bit more convenient for him.
But was it important to do it at the soonest possible time?
Yes, I believe that it was needed to be done. It needed to be done as soon as possible time. It's just that, situations like that call for certain leeway, or probably giving them some leeway not to get, I mean, the request was not a very difficult request that was made. And since it was the president's party and the president himself who had requested for it, we felt that, well, if they feel that it would be done more conveniently elsewhere, then it's something that would we acceded to doing.
And you anticipated this?
Well, among others, yes, we anticipated that, as like I said, initially there were already a lot of questions that were raised even before they disembarked, which was made through his lawyers.
Prosecutor General Fadullon, the reason I'm asking these questions is to be able to make sure that there was an agreement between the party of the former president and that of the government with regards to not being able to read his Miranda rights there at the tube after leaving the airplane. So from here, this goes on to being taken, the group of the former president being taken to Villamor. Were you still there at Villamor Air Base when the former president was taken there?
Yes, that is correct. I was still there, together with the police officers. Initially, I had thought that the reading would be done somewhere in the VIP lounge of the airport. But seeing as it is that there were a lot of people that were already gathering, it was a decision of the police who were with us, General Torres Group, to bring him to Villamor and bring him to a place where it would be a bit more free from all from the crowd that was actually gathering.
And who is really supposed to be reading the Miranda rights for the former president? Because if you were initially the one that was supposed to do this, my understanding is in Villamor Air Base, and you said you were there, wasn't it General Torre who read the rights of the former president?
Yes. When we reached Villamor Air Base, we had the president and his group settle inside the lounge. And General Torre and I were talking outside. And I was telling him that, the reading of the Miranda rights, as far as my understanding is, is that it's supposed to be done by the apprehending or arresting officers. And I told him that the purpose why the Department of Justice prosecutors were there was to ensure that the implementation of the arrest of the former president was done in a manner where his rights are protected. So we agreed at that point in time, after giving the president some leeway to be able to rest and recover from this trip, that it would be General Torre who would be reading him his Miranda rights, but I will be with him together with other Department of Justice prosecutors, to answer any questions, if there were any questions that would be raised.
So why was it from the very beginning that you were assigned to read his Miranda rights if you were saying right now that it's supposed to be the arresting officer who should be reading the Miranda rights?
Well, when I got to the airport, that was a task that was provided to me, or that was given to me. At the time that it was given to me, I did not have the occasion anymore to question it, as the plane of the president had already arrived. Okay, and it was only at the Villamor Air Base, on the way to the Villamor Air Base, that I was discussing it with other Department of Justice officials, and I was telling them that, this is something that should be done by the arresting officers. Everybody agreed So we met, like I said, with General Torre and told him that it would be best if he did the reading of the rights, but we would be there with him because we were there to observe the proceedings and to make sure that everything was done legally.
So, would you say it was a good idea that the camp of the former president had actually asked to delay the reading of the Miranda rights to them making it to the Villamor Air Base as compared to you having done it after the two, because maybe out of technicality that might pose a problem?
Yes, I would say so. It would be, I would have considered it a blessing in disguise also, considering that knowing the host of issues, no, or concerns that they raised from the very start, I would be quite sure now that that would be one of the questions that would be raised if I had proceeded to read the president his rights.
And that's exactly why I wanted to find out everything, sir, from the time you were there and saw the president to what actually transpired from your point of view, because the camp of the former president is crying illegal arrest, kidnapping, and that his rights were not respected. We're going to talk about that after the break with Prosecutor General Richard Anthony Fadullon. Stay tuned. This is On Point. Welcome back. You're watching On Point. Still with us, Prosecutor General Richard Anthony Fadullon, PG. So please react to this. The camp of the former president is crying kidnapping. It's an illegal arrest and that his rights were not protected.
Well, at the very outset, when the rights of the president were read, like I said, we were present. I was just beside General Nick Torre when he did it. And that issue was raised by the former president himself. And he said why he was being detained in Villamor Air Base. And I explained to him that he was not being detained there. We brought him there because it was quite inconvenient and it would be quite, there was a lot of confusion already because there were a lot of people in the lounge in Terminal 3. So I explained to him that he was being there for security reasons also, and that to give him an opportunity and his party to be able to rest and recover from the trip. That matter was explained to them that he was not being kidnapped. He was brought there to make it more convenient for him and his party. And that it was being done for security reasons also because he wanted to ensure that everybody, the former president and his party were actually protected and secure in that area. So to say that they were being illegally, that they were kidnapped, I think that would be incorrect as the way I observed it that entire morning, the moment that they arrived, they were able to rest, they were able to talk, they were able to eat and be on their phones, post pictures and everything. So they had been able and they were given and afforded all the conveniences that normally is not given to an ordinary citizen who's being placed under arrest.
So there was treatment that is not normally extended to somebody that is being issued an arrest warrant.
It would appear that way, considering that he is a former president. He had to be afforded that right. And the fact that he had just arrived, like I said, it's not the case wherein you can treat him just like an ordinary criminal would be treated, much as he would want to, considering that it was quite a delicate situation because you were implementing a warrant of arrest as against the former president. So to that extent, he was afforded that convenience just to afford him the respect of being a former president of the republic.
So apart from that, though, there were also questions, sir, on the former president not being able to be given the right, the opportunity or the time to even get the necessary medicine that he needed to be able to leave the country to make his way to The Hague. Were you still around when this happened?
Yes, I was there up until the plane left. We just had to make sure that the president was actually boarded on the plane. But as far as that is concerned, Pinky, I would like to dispel all this inaccurate news that he was not given all the necessary medical attention. His medicines, he was not allowed to get hold of his medicines before his trip. The very moment that he arrived at Villamor Air Base, We made sure that there were doctors. His doctors were allowed to examine him. We had our own doctors who were also present from the Philippine National Police, who were there to make sure that the president was checked to find out if there was anything that was medically wrong with him at that time. And up until the time that he boarded the plane, I could hear General Torre actually giving them the instructions that if there are medications that have to be brought, if there are medicines that are needed by the president, to bring it with them and or give the list so that they can provide it and secure it for them. So I think it would be very incorrect to say that he was deprived of that opportunity to make sure that all the medication that he needed for the trip was with him at the time that he left.
So did anyone buy the medicine? Was he able to bring his medicine, sir?
As far as I know, when he left Pinky, he was with the nurse who was with him.
His
No?
private nurse?
Yes, his
Yeah.
private nurse, a security aide, and the last to join him and board with him on the plane was former Executive Secretary Medialdea. As far as I can recall, the medicines or the medication that he needed were made available to him before the trip.
Prosecutor General Fadullon, let's talk about Section 59 of the Rome Statute, where it actually says that that person, the former president, should have been presented to a judicial authority. This is one of the reasons, I believe, that the camp of the former president is using to prove that the arrest was not right, because the president, the former president, should have been presented before a judicial authority, as stated, again, I believe, in Section 59 of the Rome Statute. Can you explain this, please?
Well, first of all, let me just raise the point that it would be improper for the camp of the former president to be raising the issue of Section or Article 59 of the Rome Statute, considering that according to them, it was the president's act himself of withdrawing the country from our withdrawal from the ICC, and as a result of which, you cannot now invoke the very same statute from which you had withdrawn. But then again, if you go to the point of a competent judicial authority does not always mean that it is before a court or before a judge. If you look at, if I'm not mistaken, there is a case in point in one of the cases that were tried before the ICC, where a person who was arrested was brought before the prosecutor general, the prosecutor general of that country, and that the ICC recognized that as a
Judicial
compliant.
authority?
Yes, a compliance with the provision on the competent judicial authority before which or before whom he was brought.
So in comparison, you
Yes.
are saying that, am I correct in understanding this, that based on that, you could compare this incident by which the former president was presented to you, or you were around, being the prosecutor general?
Yes, I believe so. I believe so. And the fact is, if he was going to be brought before a competent judicial authority, by following their line of argument, if he was going to be brought before a competent judicial authority in the Philippines, the purpose would be to find out whether the manner by which the president's rights were, the manner by which the former president was arrested, was done without his rights being violated. And the actual thing that happened was that it was I, the Prosecutor General of the National Prosecution Service, who was present, and we were there to make sure that his rights were in fact not violated, as we can attest to it.
And plain and simple, you are referring to yourself as a competent judicial authority if Article 59 of the Rome Statute would be invoked.
Yes, that would be correct, ma'am.
Another one, sir. As mentioned a while ago, you had mentioned earlier that the former president had withdrawn from the Rome Statute March 7, 2018, and its effectivity happened the year after, sometime in March again of 2019. But we cooperated with the arrest warrant coursed through the Interpol.
Yes.
Were we mandated really to cooperate with the Interpol, or it was just really out of respect to the Interpol because we also need their help? Because we're not compelled really to cooperate with the Interpol. Would that be correct, sir?
Yes, we may not be compelled to cooperate with the Interpol, but as you mentioned, there are a lot of instances or situations wherein we have worked with Interpol and we have sought their help. Now, in this particular case, it was the ICC that coursed it through the Interpol, and that was the reason why the Philippines cooperated. This is by reason of the fact that, like I said, there are a host of other cases where we have quite recently sought their help, and I think it is incumbent upon us to honor, no, to honor that agreement with them that we cooperate if and when our services or our help is sought.
But then it would be very easy. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it would be very easy for government to say, we have no plans of cooperating with the ICC. However, if it is coursed through the Interpol, that becomes a different story. My train of thought here is, it doesn't seem to make too much sense to me as a layperson. Basically, if you say hindi tayo makikipag-cooperate, pero pag dumaan yan sa Interpol, makikipag-cooperate tayo, saan ho ba dadaan si ICC kundi sa Interpol?
Yes, but the withdrawal from the ICC is not a doing of the current government. It's a doing of it was a decision of the former president. The procedure is that, no, and this is not something that we ourselves made, but the procedure is that if there is a request for a warrant of arrest to be served in a country other than the one that issued it, it would really have to be coursed through the Interpol. Yes, it seems convenient, but then again, we likewise, no, have to honor our commitments with the Interpol. It does not mean that by honoring that commitment, we have acceded to becoming members again of the ICC. It is simply honoring a commitment to the Interpol, in as much as, like I said, there have been recent cases where we have sought their help. I would cite the case of former Congressman Teves and in the case of Alice Guo.
Okay, now that you've mentioned those, sir, I wish I had more time to discuss this, but there are other topics that I wanted to talk to you about. This possible, just the possible, sir, arrest of Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. Is there any movement or preparation coming from the Prosecutor General, from the DOJ?
Right now, I would say no. We have no direct knowledge as to what preparations are being made. As far as the Office of the Prosecutor General is concerned, the most that we know about is the things that we hear about in the news, no, that there are warrants of arrest that are forthcoming and that there are certain personalities who are the subject of these warrants. But I suppose it's better for us to cross the bridge when we get there.
Harry Roque, sir, a complaint of qualified human trafficking was filed by the NBI, if I'm not mistaken. This was last October 28 or around that time. It's been almost 5 months, and that is pending before basically your office, the Prosecutor General's office. Any update on this, sir?
Well, the case is, well, I can say that the resolution is being finalized now. The delays, if at all, were, I'm not going to make any excuses, but there were reasons for some of the delays why it took a while to resolve these cases, because there were complaints that were subsequently filed or supplemental complaints were filed, and this would mean that the process would have to be extended. And I would have to also give some leeway to the prosecutors. No, this is not an easy case for them to be resolving. It would require a lot of study, and like I said, no, anytime soon, the resolution of that particular case will be forthcoming.
So when you say anytime soon, could you just give us an estimate, sir, within the month of maybe March or April?
Definitely by the month of April, because we have only a couple more days before the month of March ends. Comes on.
Quick question on that, because the former presidential spokesperson, Harry Roque, is seeking asylum in the Netherlands. Is or has the Netherlands asked any comment from the Philippines regarding this political asylum bid of Harry Roque, Attorney Harry Roque?
Yeah, not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge. I think if there would be any queries made, it would have to be coursed through probably diplomatic channels through the DFA, but definitely there is none which has been made with the Department of Justice.
Would you know, though, while his political asylum bid is pending in the Netherlands, if, sir, you said that a resolution is forthcoming sometime in April, take, for example, sir, there is probable cause and a local court orders his arrest. What happens, sir? Can he be extradited from the Netherlands, or does he have immunity now that there is a pending asylum bid in the Netherlands?
Well, I'm not really very familiar with the laws of the Netherlands, no, and whether or not they would grant him immunity considering that he has an application for asylum. No, but definitely once a warrant of arrest is, let's assume, again, hypothetically, that let's say a warrant of arrest is issued by a local court, then if we do have an existing extradition treaty with whatever country, then we will make the necessary request.
But I wonder what takes precedence, sir, an application, a pending application in that country, or an extradition case?
Well, I'm sorry, I really do not, I'm really not familiar with that. I wish I could give you an answer in that.
Thank you. That's okay, sir. Just very quickly, extradition, what happens now to the case of, Arnie Teves, former Congressman Arnie Teves, sir?
Well, we all learned that the petition for extradition that we filed with East Timor, with the Court of East Timor, was denied. No, this comes as a very big shock and surprise to us, considering that there were already two petitions earlier which were filed and which were decided in our favor. But having said that, we are still exhausting all possible means by which we can probably seek an appeal, no, or motion for reconsideration of that decision which denied our petition. And we're open to other options probably that we can take depending on the outcome of the motion for reconsideration or appeal that we will be filing with the courts of East Timor.
What are the other options? Just quickly, sir.
Well, there's also that thing that, apart from motion for reconsideration, I believe we can still appeal the decision. No, we have always been of the position that this is a matter which is really an immigration issue. So we're looking at, I don't know, we're having our legal take a look at it if we can pursue other avenues other than the motion for reconsideration or the appeal.
Prosecutor General Richard Anthony Fadullon, sir, pleasure to have you, and I hope to speak to you again, sir.
Thank you, Pinky, and thank you to all your televiewers and guests. Thank you.
That's On Point. Join us again tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel. I'm Pinky Webb. Thank you for watching.